course, Israel's war on Hamas is among the most pressing conflicts addressed by the G7 summit. Intelligence expert Andrew Borene is here. I want to ask you first, in terms of all that's happened, obviously, there's been a lot of political discussion. G7 leaders, they have historically stood with Israel. Is there any sign that that support is wavering?
I think the Israeli-Hamas conflict is one of the most complex illustrations of modern warfare. We see so many layers unfolding with the conventional conflict between a state actor in Israel and a non-state terrorist group in Hamas, civilians caught in the middle, and on both sides. So I think that certainly the G7, with its focus on economic policy and defense issues, is going to take a look at that. But I am confident that the very top item on their agenda this week has been the Russian invasion and illegal occupation of Ukraine, followed closely by China and an expanding Chinese influence in the Pacific. So I don't mean to dismiss certainly the Israel question. I just think that when we talk about what has been happening at the G7 and the upcoming this weekend's Ukrainian peace summit, the Israeli-Hamas conflict is it's fraught with a lot of uncertainty as far as what strategic level leaders are thinking within that bloc.
Well, and I think that you make a good point, because President Biden and other world leaders, they know they cannot solve the Israel-Hamas conflict simply at any point. I mean, it's going to continue. That's just point blank, period. As hopeful as we all are, it is going to continue until one side or the other is destroyed. But you bring up Ukraine, and it seems as though America issuing all these checks and providing resources, it at least feels like something's being done, that there are solutions being raised. Let's listen to what President Biden spoke about exactly needing to defend or support Ukraine's right to defend itself. Let's listen.
A lasting peace for Ukraine must be underwritten by Ukraine's own ability to defend itself now and to deter future aggression anytime in the future. The United States is going to help ensure that Ukraine can do both, not by sending American troops to fight in Ukraine, but by providing weapons and ammunition.
So in terms of, I mean, obviously there's the politics at home. Some people are going to forever make sure that they vote that we would continue to have this kind of level of support. There are plenty of Ukrainian Americans here who would hope that we would stand by Ukraine no matter what. But some Americans are becoming more apathetic. What is the threat if we don't support Ukraine? I think that we need to look at worst case scenarios here.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'll zoom out to the full G7 meeting, which includes people far removed from the Euro-Atlantic Alliance, including Japan. But what we saw the G7 agree to was to loan $50 billion. That is coming from the interest on held assets of Russian leadership and the Russian state. So in essence, the interest on Russian money is now being used to finance and build up Ukraine's internal defense capacity in the next couple of years. The other aspect here, again, G7 bloc level, there is no daylight between any of these 7 nations in their commitments to support Ukraine. We saw the United States just 2 days ago in a very nonpartisan commitment make a 10-year bilateral security agreement with the Ukrainian state. And we're also seeing bilateral agreements with even in Italy, where we have kind of a right aligned government under Premier Meloni. So I think what we're observing in the G7 and in the Ukrainian peace summit is Ukraine and its allies very tightly aligned for a long-term commitment to sustain a struggle against that Russian occupation. And I think that is probably why I led with that as the first talking point, because I think it's the easiest one for all of those large economies and strategic defense partners to agree on and make those long-term commitments to, again, regardless of domestic politics. We know there's elections coming up in the United States, in the United Kingdom. At G7 this year, the European Union and the European community had their senior leaders present, and all of those actors are making long-term commitments. So I think regardless of the outcome of any of the elections, whether they were in Italy, upcoming in the UK or US, or anywhere, or Macron's government in France, we're going to see that there is a united allied effort that is where we see geopolitics being more important than domestic politics and keeping the allies aligned in support of Ukraine. But That's my assessment.
Well, I mean, I think your assessment is fair, and I think that we too need to sometimes look at a bigger picture. I mean, it's necessary for the future of our world. Andrew Borene, thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate your insights.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you again, Adrienne. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.